What is Microsoft Fabric? Microsoft Fabric is an end-to-end data analytics platform built for simplicity and collaboration. It unifies data engineering, data science, real-time analytics, and business intelligence in one secure place. So instead of using multiple disconnected tools in your organization, teams can now manage all of their data from raw to ready in one environment. What that means for us is that Microsoft is now offering a complete ecosystem for managing data and business processes. And what this slide is showing you here, you can use all Microsoft tools together for maximum value. So at the top, you have Microsoft Cloud, which gives you apps like Dynamics 365, Microsoft 365, and Power Platform. These really help you to run your business operations. Then you have the middle layers that encompasses the data governance that keeps your data secure and compliant, analytics that turns your raw data into insight, and operational databases that stores your core business data. And at the bottom layer, which is your Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform, this is the foundation and includes Microsoft Fabric, SQL Server, Azure SQL, Azure Cosmos DB, and Azure Databricks, and many more. These tools help connect everything so your data flows smoothly across systems. So in short, Microsoft is now combining apps, analytics, and governance into one integrated platform. So you can manage your data, gain insights, and run operations without juggling multiple vendors. Fabric simplifies your data environment, connecting everything and makes AI a core part of your analytics. So instead of having multiple analytics services, you get a unified stack. So you're not only juggling different tools, Fabric combines everything into one platform. Instead of disconnected data sources, all the data is in one place, no more silos. Fabric is really centralizing your data for easy access. Instead of isolated applications, you have an entire estate, and that works across your whole organization, not just one app. And lastly, Gen AI bolt on to Gen AI built in, where AI isn't just an add-on, it's integrated into the platform for smarter insights. Copilot in Microsoft Fabric, we see Microsoft infusing AI into every layer in Fabric to help every data professional get more done faster. Copilot in Microsoft Fabric brings AI assistants directly into the data experience. So you can use natural language to create data flows and pipelines, write SQL statements, build reports, or even develop machine learning models with no coding needed. You can ask questions in plain English and get visual dashboards or summaries instantly. So it saves time, it reduces manual analysis, and it helps every team member work smarter with the data. And together, Fabric and Copilot turn complex analytics into simple, actionable intelligence for your business. So in Data Factory, you can simply describe how you want to ingest and transform the data using natural language, and Copilot does the rest. In databases, you can use Copilot support and chat-based natural language to create SQL queries and improve database administration. When working in a notebook, in data engineering or data science, you can more quickly enrich, model, analyze, and explore the data. And lastly, in Power BI, you can create stunning reports and summarize your insights into narrative summaries in seconds.
Thank you again, Mitzi, and good morning, everyone. I am Jade, a data engineer at Davin, and I'll be taking you all through the demo portion of our presentation. So for our demo, we'll be looking at Copilot's integration into MSD's existing environment. And MSD is a fictional business. It's called Megastar Distribution Center. It deals with inventory, warehousing, and sales data or operations. And the business specializes in office supplies and has locations in 4 Caribbean countries. So what we'll be looking at specifically is Copilot in the workloads that would have been used to create MSD's environment. And that would be workloads such as data factory, which is used to ingest the business's data from various data sources. There's also data engineering and data warehouse, which would have been used to store, query, and curate their data. And of course, Power BI, which would have been used to visualize their data into actionable insights. So without further ado, I'll share my screen and we'll get into the demo. So y'all should be seeing MSD's Fabric environment, which contains all of the items that would have been created during their analytics journey with Fabric. So we'll get started with the staff data flow. And this would have been used to ingest the manager's data as well as the order data for the business. And data flows are a part of the data factory workload, which is used typically by your data engineers. But let's say you're a non-technical person or you are a little bit less experienced in the data space. What if someone comes to you and asks you to look at the data that you have and come up with the total order cost by manager and country in descending order so that they could determine which managers would be bringing in the most revenue or generating the highest total order cost? So what we could do instead of trying to figure out how we could start looking at that, we can use Copilot to break this down and give us an answer. So what we can do to begin with is we can ask Copilot to group the order table by managers. And Copilot is going to look at the data that we have. It's going to figure out the best way to do that. And then it's going to execute the steps required to do that. And you'll see the step group by has been added into our applied steps. So we're seeing the table has changed and we can expand the table since we already have manager ID, but we want to keep all the other order information. We'll just deselect manager ID, hit OK, and our table is now fully expanded and grouped by managers. So the next part of this task would be to determine what the total order cost per manager is. So we can just ask Copilot to create a calculated column that looks at that aspect of the task. And Copilot is going to figure out how to do that, insert the step for us, and then we'll see the new column to the end of our table. So by now you'll probably realize, okay, we have duplicates and it's a little bit more information that we need. So what we'll do is we'll ask Copilot to summarize the table for us and show the total order cost per manager and country. And this should give us a breakdown of the manager's ID, the country they're assigned to, and the amount that would have been generated by them. And the next thing we'll do is, lastly, we'll ask Copilot to sort the table, or rather, I should say, to sort the total order cost column in descending order. And this should give us the information that we're looking for in terms of which manager would have brought in the most revenue. And that is the manager with manager ID 012. And they would have brought in a total of, well, that very big amount. So all we had to do here was break down our task into a series of natural language questions, and Copilot was able to deliver the results for us. So if you want to save this, what you need to do is you just need to hit save and run, and the information will be stored in the lakehouse that MSD uses. But I don't want to save this, so I'm going to hit discard and close. And we're going to move into the data engineering workspace or the data engineering workload now, which is this MSD LH SQL Analytics endpoint. So in here, typically your data engineer would use this space to further query and curate the data that we have stored. And to do that, you usually would need to write SQL scripts. But again, let's say you're not too familiar with SQL, you don't have as much experience. But in looking at the data that we have, so if I just expand here, I can see all of the tables that we have for MSD. And if I look at products, I can show you all the different product categories that we have. In looking at the products, we may notice that we have things like drawers, cabinets, tables, cupboards, and we could say that those things should be grouped as furniture. So to do that, if I wanted to experiment and figure out how I can group that, but I don't have much SQL experience, what I can do is I can lean on Copilot to help me create the script. And what I can do is I can simply ask Copilot to analyze, let's say, the orders data from the last 2 years, grouping the following products as one category called furniture. What Copilot is going to do, Copilot is going to look at the data that we have stored in here, and then it's going to figure out how to translate my natural language prompt into SQL code, and then it will provide the script for us. So it might take a little bit longer because, it's trying to analyze what we have and give us back a script just based off of a pure natural language prompt. And here we go. So we have gotten an entire script back from Copilot. And you have the option to copy the code, or you can hit insert code, which I'm going to do. And we see that my query is now pasted into the script. And all I need to do is hit run. And Copilot was able to give me a script that groups my products, my product categories into a new product category called furniture. And it's able to give me the total order quantity as well as the total order cost. And remember, this would be just for the last 2 years. So similarly, you can do this with any other experiments you want to do, any other curating you may need to do without having to actually know how to fully write out a SQL script. And your scripts are automatically saved under the query section. So if you accidentally close it off, you don't have to worry about if you're going to lose your script or not. So with that, I just want to remind you all that Copilot is also available in Power BI, meaning it's not just for your data engineers or your data technical persons. It's also for your end users. So this MSD report would have been built using the Power BI workload in Fabric. So it's a pre-built report with various pages, which you'll see shortly. Okay. So here you have the report. You can see we have multiple pages. Reports can have hidden pages as well. So in the interest of time, rather than going through the entire report, what we can do is we can ask Copilot to simply give us an executive summary of this report. So I'm going to ask Copilot to give an executive summary of this report. And what Copilot is going to do, it's going to basically go through all of the content that we have in this report, and it's going to give us back a lot of detail. So we're seeing here, the first paragraph tells us that the report highlights a strong overall sales performance. It gives us the total quantity sold as well as the total revenue and the total amount of orders that would have been basically put into this report or brought forward. And this is based on the entire data set. Then we read further and we see that inventory operations remained robust with 394,213 units restocked and a restock frequency matching the total order count. Then it tells us that Aruba demonstrated the highest inventory turnover ratio. So let's say my interest is piqued by that. So I can go to the inventory page. I can see the overall performance for the business, and I can hover on Aruba and then drill through to country analysis to see if I could get some more information about Aruba and its performance and operations. From here, I'm seeing a lot of detail, but let's say, for example, I wanted to see if there was any increase in order quantities for a particular product category in Aruba. Rather than I need to go create a new report or go looking for that information, I can simply ask Copilot the question, and Copilot will look at the data that we have. It will convert my natural language prompt into a DAX query. For those of you who are familiar, if you're not, DAX is basically data analysis expression, and it's the language that we use to query data within Power BI. So If I scroll up, Copilot gives me a warning. This answer required more analysis than usual. Check it carefully. AI can make mistakes. We also have the option to check the DAX, which Copilot would have created, but we also just get the answer at the bottom here, where it tells us that based on the available data, product categories in Aruba that saw an increase in order quantity would have been chair, cupboard, and S pen. So it gives us this breakdown in a nice little table. So we could even take it further and we could ask Copilot, okay, what would be the operational impact if this trend were to continue? And then Copilot tells us if the trend of increasing order quantities for certain product categories in Aruba continues, several areas can be impacted. For example, your inventory management system might be under pressure. Your warehouse capacity and staffing may have issues. You may have to make adjustments to your supply chain. Logistics and distribution would need to be looked at, as well as cost implications may need to be considered. So it tells us at the end, proactive planning and investment in operational resources will be essential to sustain service levels and capitalize on the growth opportunity. So that leads me into my point of remember that AI and Copilot is amazing and it helps us to be more efficient. It helps us to save time. But it is very important for us to fact check the results, especially when it comes to things like this, because you don't want to make a decision without ensuring that you made the checks that are necessary and you ensure that there were no mistakes and that the information is accurate and appropriate before making decisions. So that will bring me to the end of the demo portion of our presentation. So I'd like to say thank you for your time and your attention. And I will now pass you all back over to Mitzi. Mitzi?
Thank you, Jade, for that presentation. There are a couple questions here. I'm not sure if you saw it.
I
How
will
can
look at
how
the
can
chat.
we create the databases on Fabric? I use a number of databases at work, and having the option to connect Fabric to external data warehouses would be super helpful.
I think I would like to encourage you to book a consultation with us, Christian, because when you see multiple data sources, I think we could get into the details of what those databases are, what your data sources are, and that way we could properly flesh out what exactly Fabric can do for you in a little bit more detail and a bit more specific to your operations.
And there was another one.
I think Kimberly
Yes,
has a
Kimberly.
question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jade, take it.
If my BI report has multiple pages or my graphs have drill truths, will Copilot successfully analyze those also, or does everything need to be on one page? So it depends on how you ask the question. So where I asked about Aruba specifically, remember, I would have drilled through as far as possible to the information that I was looking at. If you keep it high level, Copilot may not be able to give you as specific of an answer. It will try its best, but ultimately you would need to fact check that information or that response a bit more. You need to make sure basically that what you get from Copilot is accurate and it didn't miss something. So
All
I'm not
right.
seeing any more questions.
Yeah, I guess
So
that's it.
you can go
Thank,
ahead.
thank you, Jade, so much for that lovely demo. Copilot in Microsoft Fabric is available for organizations from F2 or higher or Power BI Premium, and it's not included with a free or individual Power BI account, right? However, once it's enabled, Copilot works within your existing Fabric or Power BI Premium environment with no separate setup or configuration needed. Activities is measured through tokens, allowing teams to track how Copilot is being used across the environment. This model supports predictable usage and flexible cost management, giving organizations the ability to scale their AI capabilities in line with your business needs. And lastly, as you can see here, Fabric offers flexibility. So whether you want to start small and scale with a pay-as-you-go, or really take advantage of reserve capacity for better long-term savings, In order for us to help you determine what your needs are and the best setup, we would in fact recommend that you book a consultation with us, and we'll be happy to walk you through the steps to get the best available tier for you. So with that, thank you for having us.